Hello, it's Jess. Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in January. I honestly feel like I've started off the year really strong. I already have a new book to add to my all-time favorite list, and I'm just so happy that I could start off the new year this way. So first up, like always, I'm going to talk about my book club pick. For January, February, and March, my book club is reading the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb. This is the third trilogy in the Elderling realm, and the first book is Fool's Errand. I loved it. We're starting off really strong. This is a new all-time favorite book. It was 5 stars, and I am just once again blown away by Robin Hobb. She is such a good author. She's so good at writing. Her characters are just top notch. She has the best character development ever. I love this book. I love this world. I will never get enough. This is the 7th book in the realm of the Elderling, so you do have to read books 1 through 6 first. It's 2 trilogies, and in particular, you absolutely 100% have to read the Farseer trilogy, which is the first series in this world. This series will not mean anything to you if you don't read the Farseer trilogy. After taking a little bit of a detour in the Live Ship Traders, we are back in the Six Duchies with this series, and we are back with Fitz. In this series, Fitz starts off as a 35-year-old man, which I believe puts it 10 years after the Farseer trilogy concludes, but 4 years after the Live Ship Traders trilogy concludes. I'm not 100% on that timeline, but basically Fitz is living in a self-imposed exile out in the woods. He has a really comfortable cabin, he has a comfortable life, and he's just trying to live the quiet life. Unfortunately for Fitz, he is summoned back to Buckkeep. He is summoned back to the capital of the Six Duchies because the Crown Prince has gone missing, and they need Fitz's set of skills in order to track down the Crown Prince quietly and get him home in time to get betrothed so that there isn't a war if he leaves his intended high and dry. I loved being back in this world. Like I said, Robin Hobb's writing is perfect for me. Robin Hobb is definitely not an author for everyone. She moves slowly throughout her stories. There's a lot of time spent just getting to know characters, being in this case, Fitz's head, and just sitting with the characters. And that's definitely not for everyone, and I understand it. But for me personally, absolutely phenomenal, perfect. I love it so much. Robin Hobb is definitely a comfort author for me. There's something about her writing that just feels like a warm hug. I just immediately get so immersed into her world every single time. She is so transporting. Listen, if you try Robin Hobb and she's not for you, I get it, but I will never stop raving about her. In terms of like stakes, this book did feel a little bit smaller stakes after coming off of both the Farseer and the Live Ship Traders. I also think that while this book is a good setup for the rest of the trilogy, this book is almost like its own contained story. We started with the beginning of the plot in this, and the entire plot has been wrapped up. I mean, obviously there's more to the story than just this, but this is the first time where I've read the first book in a Robin Hobb trilogy, and I actually felt like it could could be a standalone. That is by no means a criticism of this book. It's just something that I found interesting and I did want to note about this. Now, here's the thing. The stakes in this are very real. If Fitz does not succeed in his mission, it's very possible that the six duchies will break out into war. That being said, though, I think that the stakes for this novel felt lower than any of the other novels that I have read by Robin Hobb. And I think like the comfort and the coziness were also like a bit turned up in this one. It felt like Robin Hobb was just welcoming us back to the six duchies, and like after the live ship traders, just like letting us get reacquainted to where we are and reacquainted back to Fitz and the Fool and the characters that we already know. And it just felt so good and so delightful. This book also is the first book of 2023 to make me cry. Sobbed like a little baby. Very fun, highly recommend. I did also want to mention that Fitz has animal magic in this series. That's not a spoiler, like you find that out in the Farseer trilogy very early on, but I did just want to mention that the plot of this particular book has a lot to do with the animal magic. I loved seeing more glimpses into the world of the old blood magic. But I did also want to say that there is some content warnings for harm to animals in this book. I know that that's something that can be very, very triggering. I'm just going to leave the content warning there. And I think that if that is something that's triggering for you, you should maybe look up a more in-depth list to make sure that this is a book that you want to read. 5 stars, no notes. Once again, perfection from Robin Hobb. Next up, I have Woman of Light by Kali Fajardo Anstein. I'm definitely not getting the accent on that name right, but I'm sorry about that. I actually finished this in the last couple of days of December, but I had already filmed my wrap up, so it didn't make it into there. This is an adult historical fiction that follows one family for 5 generations. I would say that the primary main character is Luz. She's a tea reader in Denver in the 1930s. Basically, her tea reading lets her catch glimpses of the past and the future, and I really did enjoy that kind of speculative twist added into a historical fiction novel. Overall, I really enjoyed the writing style of this novel, and I will say that the characters, I think, are a strong selling point for this novel. They all feel very real and very three-dimensional, even though not every character in this novel can have that much screen time due to the just multi-generational nature of the novel. I really felt like they were all real three-dimensional characters. Their motivations made sense to me. I was never confused at any point in time to who each of these characters was. Overall, I gave this novel 3 stars. What it boils down to is it's kind of a slice of life for this family. As Luz sees in the tea leaves, you get to know how this family got to where they are now. And then in the present day, it's kind of just this family trying to survive. This is definitely a character-driven book. There really isn't a plot. At no point while reading this was I ever bored, and I was definitely enjoying myself while I was reading it, but after I finished, I kind of forgot about this book, and I was like, yeah, it was a book. I think for me, in this particular instance, the lack of a plot definitely did hinder my overall enjoyment, but I do think that this could be a book that other people really enjoy. So if the premise sounds interesting to you, I definitely think that you should pick it up and give it a try. Like I said, the writing style was really beautiful. I would definitely pick up another book by this author, but this one I was left kind of feeling, it's good, but not great. Next up, I have The Change by Kirsten Miller. This is a book about primarily 3 middle-aged women who discover that in their middle age, they have magical powers. They are witches. Due to their magical powers, they kind of uncover some really dark, evil things going on in their town neighborhood. And I really, really enjoyed this. I ended up rating this novel 4 stars, and honestly, it's a really dark, really fun time. Fun with a little asterisk there, because this book definitely tackles some really heavy topics like privilege, wealth inequality, abuses of power, police corruption. There's a lot of really dark, heavy topics in this book, but at the same time, the plot just keeps moving forward, and the entire time you're reading this, you are just so entertained. I really highly recommend this book if you're looking for an urban fantasy about witches. Like, I just think it's so fun. I really loved how each of the main characters had a different magical ability and how they all worked together. I also liked the moral and ethical discussions that the characters have amongst themselves. I think this is a really, really great book, and I really recommend it. So the last book that I have to talk about today is Gone Girl by Jillian Flynn, and whoo boy, is this book a trip. My God. So first of all, I rated this book 5 stars, and I also wanted to talk about the fact that when I hauled this book originally, I said that I was pretty sure I know what the twist is in this book, and I wasn't sure if that was going to impact my enjoyment. I did know the twist that happens like about 50% of the way through the book, maybe a little further, but that knowing that twist and being correct about that did not hinder my enjoyment of this book at all. But this is one of those rare thriller books that you can reread, I think, and get even more out of it the second time. And honestly, this book is fantastic. First of all, I want to say this book is a mess. Like, it's a hot mess. All of the characters in this book are just trash. Like, basically everybody in this book sucks at some point or another. Some people in this book suck more than others. Some are like downright evil, but this is one of those books where the characters being so terrible enhances the reading experience, and how messy this story is also enhances the reading experience. I can't really talk about this book in depth because I don't want to give anything away, but it's just so good and so messy. I can't stop thinking about this book. I know that like the ending of this book is very polarizing, and for me, the ending was perfection. Like, perfect. It was so perfect thematically, and I loved it. I understand that some people read this and it's just not satisfying and they dislike it, but from like a thematic point of view, it's just so perfect and I really loved it. I don't know how else to talk about this book because it's a mess. It's one of those books where it's like I almost feel bad recommending it because I know that there will be people that hate it, but at the same time, it just worked so well for me. I also think that Jillian Flynn is a phenomenal writer. Honestly, this is a book that I think could be broken down in literary classes, in English classes, because it's just so well structured and written. You can hate this book, but from like an objective writing craft point of view, this book is outstanding. It's it's so good. I highly recommend this book. I honestly think that I'm going to be thinking about this for a very long time. By the way, you will notice that I didn't give a synopsis for this book. That's intentional. If you have somehow made it to 2023 and you don't know the plot of Gone Girl, just pick it up. Like, I'm intentionally not telling you the plot because just go into it. Just know nothing, head empty, pick up the book and start reading. And I really hope that you don't regret it. But like, honestly, this is one of those books, like, I don't even want to give you a synopsis. Like, I don't think you should know anything. Just try it out. Okay, there you are, short and sweet. Those are the 4 books that I read in January. Well, 3 plus 1 left over from December. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. If you had a good time hanging out with me today, I definitely would appreciate you subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Stay safe, stay warm this winter, and have a good day.